everybody. This is a study guide with Joe. Today, I'm going to talk to you. Do you trust in grace? That is the title of our message today. And we're going to jump into the word. Let's do this. In Judges chapter 6, verse 11 through 15, this is what it says about trusting in grace. Then the Lord angel came to the village of Ophir and sat under the oak tree that belonged to Josh, a man who the clan of Absalom, his son Gideon, was threshing some wheat, selecting a wine press so that the Midianites could not see him. The Lord angel appeared to him there and said, "The Lord is with you, brave and mighty man." Gideon says to him, "If I may ask, sir, why has all this happening to us if the Lord is with us? Why happening to all the wonderful things that our father told us that the Lord used to do, how he brought them out of Egypt, and the Lord has abandoned us and left us to the mercy of the Midianites?" Then the Lord ordered him to go with all your great strength and rescue of Israel from the Midianites. I myself am sending you. Gideon replied, "But Lord, how can I rescue Israel? My cleanness is the weakness in the tribe of Manasseh, and I am the last important member of my family." See, God doesn't send things like that until you understand what He's doing. See, God gives you grace, and then when your grace connects to your faith, it gets strong, it gets power. Because with God, He will deliver your enemies and deliver them in your hands. So God is giving him Gideon. He giving him faith. He giving him grace. So Gideon is so afraid. He said, "I'm the last member of my family. I'm the last tribe of my family, because I can't go rescue Israel. That's by myself." And God is giving him the strength to go do it. Because once you start trusting in grace, your faith will grow stronger. But if you don't trust in grace, your faith is not going to strong stronger, because you'd be too worried about you weak. You can't do this, you can do that. But God's giving you the strength with grace and love, with happiness and faith that could go on. Look at what Moses did. In Exodus chapter 33, verse 12 to 19 says, Moses said to the Lord, "It is true that you have told me to lead those people to the land, but you did not tell me whom you could send with me. You have said that you know me well and are pleased with me. Now, if you are telling me your plan so that I may serve you and continue to please you, remember also that you have chose this nation to be your own." The Lord said, "I will go with you and I will give you victory." Moses replied, "If you do not go with us, do not make us leave this place. How will anyone know that you are pleased with your people and with me if you do not go with us? Your presence with us will distinguish us from any other people on earth." The Lord said to Moses, "I will know you very well, and I am pleased with you." Then Moses requested, "Please let me see the dizziness light of your presence." The Lord answered, "I will make all my splendor pass before you, and in your presence I will bounce my scorching name. I am the Lord, and I show compassion and pity on those I choose." See, God told Moses, "You can't tell me what to do. I'm going to tell you what you need to do." But you see, once again, God gave Moses He showed Moses 4 times of grace. People 4 time. He showed Moses grace, and Moses still passed the grace. He still don't recognize the grace. He still wants more. He worried about the glory. You see, what I'm trying to say is that when we don't trust in grace, then we don't trust in the Lord. But when the Lord gives you grace and love and peace and happiness, and He's telling you to do this for Him, He's showing you His grace. He's showing you His love. He's showing you His understanding. He's showing you encouragement. Through Him, we can do all things. Like in Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. But now, this is the Old Testament. Because Gideon and Moses didn't trust in God's grace. Gideon was worried about, he's the last member, that he's weak. And Moses was worried about the glory. God said, don't worry about the glory. Worry about the grace that He was showing you. Romans chapter 12, verse 3 through 6. And this is what Paul says about God's grace. He says, and because of God's gracious gift to give me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you should. Instead, be merciful in your thinking, and judge yourself according to the amount of faith that God has given you. We have many parts in the one body, and all those parts have different functions in the same way. Through we are many, we are one body in union with Christ, and we are joys to each other as different parts of the body. So we are to us our different gifts in accordance with the grace that God has given us. If our gift is to speak God's message, we should do it according to the faith that we have. See, again, Paul is displaying. He said grace is the one is going to carry us on to the next chapter. It's grace is going to show us. It's grace is going to bind us. It's grace is going to show us in His love. It is grace. Because grace conquers everything. Grace God gives us is the stuff that God knows. And that's why when Paul says it, don't worry about what happened in the Old Testament. Worry about today. Worry about today. Don't worry about what happened yesterday and what's going to happen tomorrow. He said, worry about today. God gave us grace. And that's the special seed in us because God gave us grace. 2 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 12, it says like this. If you are eager to give, God will accept your gift on the basis of what you have to give, not on what you don't have. So Paul says God is going to give. If you want to give God something, you praise Him. You give Him your love. You give Him your attention. But don't worry about what you don't have when God is going to supply you what you need. Because if you buy a white t-shirt, it's pure. It's pure. It's clean. But when your white t-shirt gets dirty, that's sin. Dirty sin. It's sin. So he says, don't worry about what you don't have. Worry about what God's going to give you. And 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13 through 16. And it goes like this in verse 13. It says, as for us, however, our boasting will not go beyond creation limited. It will stay within the limit of the work which God has set for us. And this includes our work among you. And since you are within those limits, we are not going to beyond them when we come to you, bringing the good news about Christ. So we do not boast about the work and that others have done beyond the limits God set for us. Instead, we hope that your faith may grow and that we may be able to do ways within the limits that God has set. Then we can preach the good news and others countries beyond you, and shall not, excuse me guys, continue beyond you, and shall not have to boast about working already done in other men's field. See, Paul says God gave us permission to preach. God gave us permission to teach His word, to show the good news. That's what God is saying. That's what Paul's saying. He is so happy that God gave us this opportunity to go and preach the gospel, to go and teach people about God's grace. That is the most important thing in our life. We have to trust in God, and we have to trust in grace. That way we can trust in our faith, and we can trust in the mercy, and we can trust in the blessing, and we can trust in His love. That's what Paul was saying. And look at it in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9. He says, but its answer was, my grace is all you need, for my power is greater than you are weak. I am most happy then to be proud of my weakness, in order to feel the protection of Christ's power over me. See, he says the weakness comes because when you have grace in yourself and you have grace in your body, grace is the one that's going to carry you on. Grace is going to build up your faith. Grace is going to show you the mercy. Grace is going to show you the blessing. Grace strengthens your faith, and then your faith gets strengthened by your blessing, and your blessing gets strengthened by your mercy. And that's how God has it in order. Grace, faith, blessing, mercy. So Paul says, even though your flesh is weak, but my grace is strong. And that's the one thing that we all have to understand. We have to be strong in our grace, our faith, our mercy, and our blessing. Look at 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. And it says like this, verse 13. Everyone test that you have experienced is the kind that normal comes to people, but good keeps his promise, and he will not allow you to be tested beyond your power, to remain firm at the time you are put to the test. He will give you the strength and endurance. It is so provided you with a way out. See, God will give you wherever you need. God will give you anything you need, and things that you need, He will give. I mean, come on, people. This is a powerful, powerful message about trusting grace. If you don't trust grace, who can you trust? Because grace provides. Grace provides things that nobody can provide for you. Grace provides things that nobody can do. Because grace is the one thing that's keeping us with God, the strength. Because He says the way out is you pray to God. God gives you the strength. He gives you the grace. He gives you your faith. He gives you your mercy. He gives you the blessing. So we have to trust in grace to order to trust in God. Look at what David said in Psalm chapter 3, verse 1 through 3. He said, I have so many enemies, Lord, so may you turn against me. Then talk about me and say, God will not help me. But you, O Lord, are always my shield from my danger. You give me victory and restore my courage. You see how he said it? He said it. David said it. You always been around me. You always been around me because you gave me faith. You gave me courage. You are my shield. You protect me. You do everything that I need to do because that's how you do for me, God. Even though I'm crying and my enemy said that you're not going to help me, but you helped me anyway. Look at the story with Peter and Jesus in the boat. When Jesus said, tie the knot on the net and go fishing, Peter said, no, no, no. And he said, throw the net on the right hand side. And what happened? Peter ended up with a lot of fishes. That is grace talking to you. Everything in the scripture says is showing you the beautiful grace that God has given people. And Psalms chapter 25, verse 12 to 14 says, those who have received from the Lord will learn from him the path they should follow. They will always to be preserved, no, precious in their children, and possess the land. The Lord is the friend of those who obey him, and he affirmed his covenant with you. So God will give you everything you need with grace. He will give you his love. He will give you his mercy. He will give you a blessing. He's here to protect you. He knows what you're going through. He's every step ahead of us. He is our shield. He is our protector. If you read book of Vision chapter 6, if you put the armor of God, you see the protection. You see the grace. And ladies and gentlemen, trust in grace. Godspeed.